Hello and welcome to a new patch on my channel. I'm Thanos and I'm gonna take you through this patch this time, so it's not gonna be only music, but we going to talk a little bit about what's happening here, just to give you a few new ideas and hopefully you can get inspired to do your own thing. Let's start immediately with this sound here, which immediately reminded me of fluid, of water. So I thought it's a beautiful, simple sound, but I need reverb. I need reverb on this one. And let's see what reverb can do on this sound. You hear immediately that the reverb here is not just to create an atmosphere. It's not just to make things more ambient like. It's adding something to the sound. It changes the sound eventually. Here we hear more pitch, and we actually hear the pitch is going down. It's going up and then it goes down. So that's what I wanted to talk about. This patch is happening a lot in this patch, that I'm using effects not in an obvious way, but in a way to design the sound that I want. And also to talk about using what you have. You don't need expensive gear to do that. Just see what you have and use it and see how you can create something interesting out of some of what you have already. So I found this nano verb for like very cheap, and this is the first setting that I used, and yes, it fits with the sound. It just works. That's it. End of story. Anyway, just to move forward, I have this is one of these patches that I would call Serge and Friends, because I'm going to be using Serge, the Serge system from random source here, and Friends will be the Benjamin and Plaits. And what this sound you're hearing is coming from Plaits, and it's going to the topographic delay to create this liquid sound because of the resonance setting here on the topographic delay. This is an excellent delay for people who are looking for more experimental delays, some things that you can really transform sounds and not just use it as a normal delay. You don't even hear the delay, let's just say that. Anyway, the next thing that's happened is that I recorded a sound from the Surge system into the Morphagene, and it's playing on a super slow speed, and then it goes into the Aeolus Seeds from Shakmat modular. It is a new module which is focused on quadraphonic systems, but you can easily use it in a stereo system. And I have here, let's close the fluid sound, the water sound. So this is the sample. It's very low with volume, but we will fix that. It's something that doesn't really, it's not really attractive from the beginning. When you hear it, you think, oh, it's just a little lo-fi, kind of a droney thing. But there's things that happening. The jumping in the stereo field, it's happening from the Aeolus Seeds. You can find some videos about it. It's a very interesting module with 4 inputs and 4 outputs, and you can modulate the inputs into certain outputs in a certain way. So it's like having 4 VCAs and have modulation source inside to send your audio to different outputs and different directions. in the stereo field if you set up the outputs to be left and right. So if I add the same reverb now, as you can hear immediately, there is some distortion there. So we just need to be careful. But we want a little bit of that. Yes, especially when we get these louder tones from it. The reverb is reacting. And we create something much more bombastic, I would call it, something more bigger than that little humble lo-fi drone that we had in the beginning. And this is very dynamic, so it's not always happening, it just reacts to the volume of the sample. And this goes particularly well with the star of the show, which is this sound. You probably noticed that there is somehow a connection between the loop and what we hear from Plaits. Plaits is going, by the way, straight into Clouds, and Clouds is being also I'm modulating the pitch and the blend, which is magic in Clouds. It just creates such a dynamic mix. And Aeolus Seeds here is modulating Clouds, and it's also because of the output of the Morphagenes going into the Aeolus Seeds, there's somehow a connection between what's happening in the loop here and what's happening in Clouds. Extremely beautiful, just because also it changes quite a lot. Sometimes we have very a lot of action happening, and sometimes it just goes back and it takes a little bit of a breath, and then it jumps back in very unexpected ways. And I love this kind of very dynamic sounds. And of course we can have a constant here, we can have our liquid sound here also back in the mix, just to hear that you can actually hear this, although there's a lot happening. It's the frequencies of this water sound that they kind of jump through the mix. And of course we hear the resonance here, the pitch from the reverb in there. Yes, it's beautiful, low frequencies from the loop also distorting into the reverb. Anyway, more details about this patch, you can go to my Patreon page and subscribe there. All my Patreons are getting a detailed description of every patch and every track that I make, including advice about mixing, how to mix it properly, and in the box or with an external mixer that I like to do here, because I like to mix the recording with my hands, just to have hands-on experience before I record everything into the computer. And of course I have more possibilities. I can record on tape also if I think what I've made that it sounds good. I usually just try it and see if it works or not. It's just a beautiful experiment to do. Sometimes it works magic, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just better to record in the computer. So what I was saying is about my Patreon page, which is online already, and if you're interested, go there. It's going to be details in the description, and from now on I will have all the details about these patches that I'm working on, and plus every Patreon can contact me personally about helping, about advice, about you can read on Patreon what I can do for you. Anyway, so this is the patch, and yeah, it is something that works a lot with effects. That's why I have this little system here that's mainly effects. And but I'm always trying to use the effects in order to make a sound, not in order to not in an obvious way that I use a delay or a reverb, and it's much more rewarding that way. And of course sometimes you would use a reverb in a normal way because the sound asks for it, but it's much more fun to use clouds in such an amazing dynamic way, to just take a few little grains of sound and send them to space, I usually say. Anyway, I hope you got some ideas that you can work on yourself about it. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.